Have you ever heard of a figure who, in one part of the world, is practically a god? I mean, statues everywhere, his birthday is a huge celebration, his name is a source of immense pride. But then, you pick up a history book from that same country and he's just a footnote, a regional blip in a bigger story. Today, we're diving into one of history's most fascinating figures to figure that out.
So, this is the big question, isn't it? How can one person be so incredibly important to one group of people, and yet kind of minimized by another? We're going to unpack the life of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, not just to learn about who he was, but to really get why his legacy is so powerful, so contested, and honestly, so important even today.
All right, let's go back. It all starts on February 19th, 1630. Now, Shivaji's father was a powerful general, sure, but the real force in his early life was his mother, Jijabai. With his dad away on military campaigns most of the time, it was Jijabai who shaped him. She was the one who planted the seeds of justice, of courage, and of a really powerful dream for their people.
And that dream had a name, Swarajya. It means self-rule. And you have to understand this wasn't just about conquering land. No, this was a revolutionary idea for the 17th century. India was dominated by massive empires and sultanates, and here comes this idea that says, wait a minute, the land belongs to the people who live here. Their culture, their traditions, their rights, they matter. This single idea became the fuel for his entire life's work.
And boy, he did not waste any time putting that dream into action. What blows my mind about this timeline is just how fast it all happened. In 1645, he's just 16 years old. 16, and he captures his first fort. A few years later, another one falls. By 1656, he controls a whole strategic valley. This wasn't some prince just inheriting a kingdom. This was a teenager with a vision, literally building an empire from the ground up, piece by piece, against some of the most powerful armies on the planet.
So, how on earth did he do it? I mean, how did this upstart challenge these massive empires? Well, his biggest enemy, the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, gave him a nickname. He called him the Mountain Rat as an insult. But Shivaji, he owned it. He turned that insult into a weapon, because he knew he couldn't beat these giant armies at their own game. So, he just changed the game completely.
And this slide, it just lays it out perfectly. It's the ultimate David versus Goliath story. On one side, you've got these huge, slow-moving armies with heavy cavalry, totally dependent on these long, vulnerable supply lines. And on the other side, you've got Shivaji's forces. Small, super fast units that knew every inch of the local terrain. He basically invented this type of warfare in India called ganimi kava. Hit hard, hit fast, cut off their supplies, and then just disappear into the hills before they even knew what hit them. And nothing shows this better than the legendary showdown with Afzal Khan. This guy was a massive general sent to finally get rid of Shivaji. Khan proposed this one-on-one meeting, for a truce, but Shivaji smelled a trap. He showed up wearing armor under his clothes and hiding this wicked little weapon called a bug knock, or tiger claw. And sure enough, when Khan went in for a fatal embrace, Shivaji was ready. He struck back, and at that exact moment a cannon fired, the signal for his hidden troops to swarm and completely destroy Khan's army. It was brilliant, brave, and totally ruthless.
So the Mughals were furious. Aurangzeb sent his own uncle, Shaista Khan, to finish the job. And look at this number, 150,000 soldiers, an absolutely massive army. Khan was so confident, he actually moved into Shivaji's childhood home and made it his headquarters. The odds looked completely impossible.
But that's exactly when Shivaji was at his most dangerous. With just 400 men, he snuck into the city under the cover of a wedding party. He infiltrated his own home and attacked the general right in his bedroom. Shaista Khan barely escaped with his life, losing a few fingers in the process, and had to flee in total humiliation. A force of 150,000 men, completely embarrassed by a small band of 400. It was unbelievable.
But here's the thing. Winning battles is one thing. Being a brilliant general, it's impressive. But it takes a completely different kind of genius to actually build a nation. Shivaji wasn't just a warrior. He was a visionary statesman, and that's where his story gets even more interesting.
At the heart of his government was this, the Ashtapradhan, or a council of 8 ministers. Now, this was a game changer. This wasn't just a court filled with his buddies or powerful nobles. This was a professional cabinet, based on merit. He had a prime minister for administration, a finance minister, a foreign secretary. It was basically a modern government structure. He was building a state that was designed to last, to be efficient and to serve its people.
And his vision of Swarajya was for everybody. He brought back Marathi and Sanskrit, the languages of the people, instead of the Persian used by the ruling elites. Yes, he was a devout Hindu who restored temples, but his state also protected mosques and churches. Some of his most loyal commanders were Muslims, and get this, he built a powerful navy, the first Indian ruler to really understand the importance of securing the coastline for both defense and trade. Every single policy was designed to build a just society that celebrated its own culture.
Shivaji died on April 3, 1680. He was just 50 years old. And while his physical kingdom wouldn't last forever, his ideas, his real legacy, well, that was just getting started.
You can tell a lot about a person by what their enemies say about them after they're gone. And this quote, this is from Aurangzeb, the man who spent years trying to destroy him. When he heard Shivaji had died, this is what he said. Even his greatest foe had to admit his respect for Shivaji's character and his spirit.
And that respect just grew over time. Fast forward a few centuries and you have Lord Mountbatten, the last British Viceroy of India, saying this. He saw Shivaji not just as an Indian hero, but as a world-class leader and strategist whose genius was universal.
So, let's bring it all home. When you boil it all down, here it is. He stood as a bulwark against forces that would have fractured the subcontinent. He was a protector of local culture. His idea of Swarajya became a rallying cry for India's independence centuries later. He was a military innovator, and most importantly, he was the people's king, who showed that true power lies in justice, not just conquest.
Which brings us right back to that first question we asked. The story of Shivaji Maharaj is so much more than a 17th century tale. It's a story about whose history gets told, whose heroes get celebrated, and why that matters so much. So I'll leave you with this to think about. If the past really does shape our present, then who do we trust to hold the pen?